I have friends who were my college mates when I was in Nigeria, high school friends, elementary school friends. The fact that I live in America, they think I'm richer than them. And when I visit, you want to see my family, when are you going to be chance I'll pick you up? They show up with brand new car. They don't have loan. No, it's no car loan, it's cash. And then when we get to the house where the gate, I'm like, is this a Hollywood or Nollywood movie? And then you see the house with housemaid, with drivers, with gardeners, cook. There is no mortgage. But this is a guy that before I travel back to Nigeria, Eric, please buy this watch for me. Oh, I thought maybe he's suffering. And maybe he's my guy from, you go to wherever, you get a wristwatch that is not too bad. Boy, I have a house mortgage. I have a car loan. And got some credit cards too.
Right.
Actually, that wristwatch was put on credit card.
What's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of World Caffeine. Today we have another special guest in the house. Now, this man was born and raised in Nigeria, and he decided to take over the world. He lived in Ukraine, lived in Spain, and then moved to the United States of America, where he served with Wells Fargo for 18 years. Decided to venture into politics in Nigeria, written 2 books, which are on their way to bestsellers in the African diaspora community and the world at large. This man decided to establish one of the most prestigious orphanages in Nigeria and also partnered in Senegal. Today we are here with Dr. Eric. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
I've just said a little bit about what you are. For those who are listening to you for the first time, who is Dr. Eric?
Dr. Eric Idehen is born in Nigeria. I use the word is because sometimes I use the word was. People keep asking me, where are you from? So it's kind of like a present tense. Right. So let me go back and say, I was born in Nigeria. I grew up there, had my undergrad, and before I moved to Europe, lived in the Ukraine, and was there for a few years, and then traveled to Spain, lived there for a few years, and won the green card lottery to come to the United States, and moved to the United States 25 years ago. Moved to Des Moines, Iowa, lived here and experienced life. In one word, who is Eric? Servant. And sometimes people call me, you're a leader. I say, well, if you put servant in front of it, I'll take it. So I could consider myself to be a servant leader, but someone who was born to serve. And I will explain why I say that. For the most part, my upbringing is the key to my success, and knowing how to adjust and how to adapt to a new life in a new environment is also key to success. Relating back home is very important, and that is how living my contract with God led me to the establishment of the orphanage. And I'll talk about that.
Absolutely.
So Eric Idehen is a doctor, but I'm just an ordinary man.
You left Nigeria and you went to Spain, and you also lived in Ukraine, and now United States. What made you decide that United States was going to be home? What made you make that decision?
I decided to make the United States home because of many factors. One of them is job opportunity. Aspiring to become successful does not just believe or depend on your performance alone. There has to be the opportunity. I lived in Ukraine. I was in Kiev. With my college degree, I did experience some challenges and hardship. Living in Spain, Madrid, the same thing. I think because of the English background that I had, kind of made the United States transitioning into success a little bit easier for me. I'll tell you the truth, the opportunity to work at Wells Fargo came from a humble beginning for me. Because when I came to the United States 25 years ago, I did not just start working for Wells Fargo. My first job, I was a dishwasher in a grocery store. And I'll tell you the truth, I did not like that job. Because as a young boy growing up in Africa, back in the day, we watched MTV, people driving nice cars with bling bling,
Yep.
Nice good suits and nice car. I'm like, I want to be there. I want to be like those guys. So when I moved here, I wanted the American dream right away. Now I found myself in the kitchen, washing dishes, mopping floors. That wasn't the dream I aspired to want to get. But through that job, one of the customers that come to the deli, who I always fortunate to wait on, asked me one day how I was doing. I said, I'm not doing good. So why? I said, I don't like this job. She said, oh, but you do it so well. And she also heard me, I spoke Spanish, I spoke Russian to customers, and that kind of just got her interest. And she said, do you want to work in a bank? I'm like, yeah, but I never worked in a bank before. My undergrad is construction economics. It's called quantity surveying. I'm a QS. I'm a quantity surveyor. So she hired me as a bank teller in 2001. And the rest is history.
You are a father, you are also a son, and you have a career. What inspires you to be able to do all this? What is your driving force?
I am a servant. I like to be part of a system that provides solutions. And if there is no solution, I try to invent one. And for that, it comes as a passion. The desire to want to serve others is not by force. You don't learn it from school. It comes from within. From the inside out, you will know if it's your passion to serve or not. Now, being a father and being a friend, it is always very important to understand the struggles, understand how to overcome those struggles as well. I try as much as possible to balance my performance, balance my time, and also prioritize my desire. It's all about the burning fire inside you to serve. And you can juggle 3 balls at the same time. If you keep your eyes focused on them, you do well. So that is the same thing with passion. When you focus on your passion, you are always on fire. And you want to continue to do in every of these aspects that you describe, being a father, being a son, being a philanthropist, being a community leader.
Right.
It all goes back to living your dream and knowing your why, the why you're here, and utilizing your passion and your dream to serve. You don't get tired doing it, and that is why I love it.
So would you say the move you made, leaving Nigeria, despite the fact that you had a promising career, and looking back at what Nigeria is today infrastructure-wise, would you do the same thing if you were to start all over?
I would do it all over again. I go back to Nigeria every year, sometimes twice a year. Unfortunately, the economic situation is not where I thought it would be by now. When I was growing up, I always hear my parents saying, things hard oh, things hard oh. I'm like, what is this? Right. Things hard means, economy, things are difficult, right? And I keep asking myself, oh, maybe by the time I become an adult, life will be better. Let me put it that way. Today, I still hear the same song. I'm like, won't you guys change this music? Unfortunately, when you look at the economy, Nigeria is a great nation, it's big, one of the largest nations in Africa in terms of population. Lots of great people, human resources. Well, unfortunately, we know what the problem is, just like most other African countries. If our leadership will continue to focus on the drive and the desire to leave a legacy of development, a legacy of future for the younger generations, then we'll be singing a different song. Will I do it all over again? Yes, because I have the opportunity to improve my life today, and that gave me the big platform to serve the orphans, to serve my neighborhood, my community, my family, and to also provide for myself. Because of the exchange rate, you could do more, but we know those things, even the exchange rate you have in your pocket doesn't just come by easily. But however, it does create a community of purpose, community of comfort, and that is why I would say I would do it all over again.
What are some of the biggest culture shocks that you experienced leaving Nigeria to the Western world?
Oh yeah, you want to hear them? The first one was the cold. So I was getting ready to travel to the Ukraine. I was told, make sure you wear coat because it's very cold over there. And in Nigeria, what coat means to me is exactly what I'm wearing right now, Jack. Right. So I got my coat. It was double-breasted, which is double button back in the day. I was ready to roll. When I got to the Ukraine, I couldn't come out of the airplane because in Kiev, the plane would taxi and stop, and then they'll pull in the ladder, you climb down to the bus, and then they'll drive you to the terminal. It wasn't a jet bridge then. I couldn't, my hands were like this, immediately folded. and my teeth was dancing. I was like, what the heck? That was my first shock. And I've seen snow, but on Christmas card and on TV. I've never touched one. So when I was in Kiev, I remember the first time I touched snow, I was like, wow. And it melted on my hand. I was like, whoa, okay. Food was the second cultural shock. There was no eba, no pounded yam. I got to figure out what to eat, man.
Right.
And then the language was a big shock. Everything is in Russian and Ukrainsky. And I had just got in, not even know what my name is when you write it in Russian.
Right.
So that was another cultural shock. And living in an environment where you are a minority, that was another big shock. I mean, I grew up in Nigeria. I mean, majority of everyone there almost is 99.9% black. And I ended up being the one in the seed of many. And that was another shock. And the development. I mean, the first time I went into metro, which is the underground train, I was like, what is this? The escalator was kind of like going 150 feet deep into the ground, and we're still going. And when we arrived, it was as if another city is underground. That was another shock for me. Yeah, but it's all good lessons though.
Right. Absolutely.
Because looking back, it prepared me for all the other adventures that I had in life.
So, Dr. Eric, did you experience a lot of racism and acceptance issues in Europe and Ukraine? And how did you handle those things?
It was by default. I'll tell you that one. So in the Ukraine, I remember when a little young boy came to me, he was looking at me, he spoke Russian, I didn't know what he was saying. And he rubbed his finger on my hand and he looked at his finger, he said something. And I was like, well, I don't know what he's doing. The mom was embarrassed. The mom pulled him and said something. And a friend of mine who was with me, who understood the language, said, oh, that kid thought that you were dirty. That's why you look different. I said, oh, okay. That's a good teachable moment. To me, I didn't see it bad, but that was the first, okay, that's all right. And then progress into understanding the language. Now I can speak, read, and write it. I was in an office one day working for a real estate firm as a real estate consultant, using my experience as a quantity surveyor and construction background. I represent a company that was huge. And we got there, the Russian guy used a very bad language, and I was like, man, you don't say that in a professional setting. Right. And he looked at me and said, I can say anything I want, anywhere, anytime. I was like, whoa, okay. We went on and on and on, and I just let it fly, I let it go. But I have seen where you just use those names that you're not supposed to use. It was kind of like common then over there. For them to do that, it was a shock for me though. I left Nigeria, it was one race. So all we know is tribes. You from this tribe, he's from the other tribe, or we know religion, but not race, not colors. That was shocking. Spain, I started to quickly realize it and noticing it because I've been inducted in the Ukraine to go through the process. And in all fairness, it was a little bit better in Spain compared to the Ukraine. And the experience was also there. You want to rent a house, the landlord will hear you speak Spanish. You show up, they're like, the house is not available. That was basically my experience there. And in job, same thing. When you do something wrong and somebody want to yell at you, the first word that will come from the head-faced mouth is a very bad word. But again, it was the kind of environment that I was in. Also, because I didn't work for the embassy, I didn't work in the diplomatic corps. But when I moved to the United States, it was subtle. It was a little bit different. Moving to Des Moines, Iowa, is also, I'm a minority, and it's so many unspoken, indirect, and direct application of what I've described. But it's also very gentle and not very open. I use the word I was accepted, but with a comma, tolerated. So, is it good? Yeah, I'm still here. If it's not good, I know how to go somewhere else. Will it continue to be good? I hope so. If it changes, well, so be it.
In Born to Serve, I read you said your HND from Nigeria was evaluated to be an equivalent of high school diploma here.
Yes, it was very sad. I was ready to roll. I was ready to go back to school to get my master's degree. I enjoy reading. I enjoy education. My parents were teachers, so my dad was a headmaster and my mom elementary school teacher. So they value education very, very important in my house. It's high. When I submitted my credentials for evaluation. And it came back as almost equivalent to a high school. I was offended. I went to Auchi Polytechnic. It's one of the best schools in Nigeria. And back in the day, I was taught by professors from Glasgow in the quantity surveying department. My head of department was Professor Elliot from Glasgow. I actually named my son Elliot because of that man, with double L and double T. To go through that and come to a place where you want to get the American dream and someone is telling you went to high school, it was very downgrading and very demoralizing. So I decided to not go back to school. But after a few years, I realized I was doing myself. And I said, okay, maybe I have to go back. And I went back to, okay, what do I need to do? You need to take some credit classes to bring it up to speed to now be equivalent for an associate or a bachelor's. I'm like, how many credit hours? They told me. I think the reason why it was evaluated to be less than its worth is because if you go back to school for more schooling, you're going to pay student loan. I guess it was business versus reality. And if I weren't smart enough, I wouldn't be able to do my master's, but I did my MBA from University of Phoenix. And I was like, why were these people delaying me? And it did really pull me back, because if I had done it earlier, I would have moved up quickly when I was in my early years at Wells Fargo. That setback was also kind of a blessing for me. It gave me the time to really focus on job and family and service, because when I started school, I didn't stop again. I just kept going until I hit my PhD. So yeah, that was shocking to me. And I use it to advise friends and people that are new to the country to say, hey man, yeah, it is what it is. Just do what they ask you to do and move on.
Dr. Eric, first of all, I really want to thank you for taking the initiative to do such work, because a lot of us Africans, we have stories that if we tell, a lot of people are not going to believe that those actually happen. But we are so busy that we don't even have the time to think about doing such a work so people can read and sharing those experiences. Do you think that the book, Bridging Expectation, is it inspired by your personal experiences, or is it something from the large cry from the African diaspora community?
Both. Born to Serve came from the desire to want to encourage people to tell their story. Everyone has a story. Your story could help someone out there. Sharing your story is being vulnerable, and we don't like to be vulnerable as human beings. But also, when you tell the truth about your experiences in life, there is someone out there that will benefit from it. So that is one of the reasons I wrote this book called Born to Serve. And then the second one too, called Bridging Expectations. Because Bridging Expectations and Born to Serve has so many layers that you're going to unpack. And someone's going to say, aha, this is what I went through. I didn't know this was going to happen. Or they're going through it right now, thinking there is no light at the end of the tunnel. But when you read this book, you know that the light is there waiting. You just need to wait, be patient. It's hard to do though. But I would say those two reasons you gave inspired me to write the book so that it will be a blessing to many.
What do you think is the most misunderstood thing about Africans living in the diaspora?
Oh, I don't know if there's the most. There's many of factors that people don't understand. The misconception. Africans living in the diaspora, they think we are very rich. We don't work hard to earn the money we earn. We just get the money anytime we want. They misunderstand our compassion to be stupidity. They take our being nice to be being foolish sometimes, and they take our no for granted. When we say no, we really mean no, but we end up helping anyway, and that creates another whole misconception. They don't want to take no from us because the expectation is you are in the diaspora, you should have everything you needed. Otherwise, why don't you come back home?
When I read the first chapter of Bridging Expectation, and you said back in the early 90s, families in Africa were actually sending money to support those that were here in the Western world. And when I think about this a lot, I feel like both parties have played a part in this problem, because when I was young, when I was in Cameroon, I would see people, we call them bushfaller. I'm not sure what you guys call them in Nigeria, but I used to watch Nigerian movies. When they come back from the Western world, you hear somebody, Emeka, Chicago, they would spray money. They would take people's women. They would do all type of stuff. So a lot of people back then just thought that these people coming from, even people coming from Turkey, South Africa, did the same thing. So that concept was building even in my mind as a child, that once you're out there, you have a lot of money. Now, also, you also wrote in your book that the people back at home used to walk, but now because they are receiving money from here, they don't do anything. Do you think that both parties are responsible for that problem?
That is very true. Yes. The answer is yes, yes, yes. And you see, bridging expectation, there is a bridge like an arc. This side of the bridge doesn't know what the other side of the bridge is going through. And the other side of this bridge doesn't know what these guys here are doing. And there is a river that flows underneath the bridge. So both sides are to be blamed. In psychology, we always say no one is wrong and no one is right. You got to meet in the midpoint. Yes, back in the days, early 80s, in the 70s and 80s, people who travel abroad will go for education or business. You go, you come back. You don't go stay. I remember even my in-law, when he started schooling way back in the 70s in the US, they send money. I was told they send money from Nigeria. I heard about people coming back and being arrogant, coming back home and become arrogant and carried away with money. Where I grew up in Nigeria, I'm from Benin City, Edo State, there were few people, they will put in their plate, the plate number, they will put USA 1 or whatever that town is. If it's Europe, one of the European countries, they'll put the name there. And I just like, wow, these guys are living large and good. Flip that to today. You go back home, because it became an exodus, like people going for fortune. It became more of a necessity and not really driven by a desire to just educate and come back home. Is going for, you dig for gold, looking for diamonds. And when it becomes that approach, I see it as selfish, personal interest. There's nothing wrong with having personal interest, but when it becomes selfish, it becomes a little bit dangerous. Right. That is why people do anything they want to just to get out of the country, to go overseas, because of what we've described and how people come back large and big and famous and rich. But it is not everyone. And to be desperate to travel, this side of the aisle sell their properties, and sometimes they don't even make it that far to where they want to go, to the destination. Right. And everything is gone. It creates frustration and pressure on families, and sometimes depression. On the other side, when they make it to the other side of the pond, the fact that they sold properties and borrowed money to travel, it put pressure on them. And sometimes it could lead to the wrong direction, doing the wrong thing for money. Whatever happens here, the folks on this side of the bridge don't know, because you don't want to share your dirty laundries. You don't want to share every frustration that you've experienced here. If you're in the right track, doing the right thing, you're like, I'll keep it to myself because my people are suffering back home. I don't want to give them more problem. If you let them know, then the money you send back home probably might be valued and be used judiciously instead of becoming an entitlement for the people back home. So both sides could be blamed, but both sides have their reasons. Bridging expectation is to help heal that divide and bring everyone close together, because if there's that understanding, that communication, the folks back home will enjoy their diasporan brothers and sisters even better. Because we in the diaspora, what do we need? We just need love, we need honesty, and then we like to help regardless.
Talking about that, you have provided already one solution, which is bridging expectation. The book has a lot of impactful knowledge, and I'll advise read that book. Now, those of us out here in the diaspora, we suffer from, like you said, a depression. I read about Tunde with his 10,000 naira, had only half bottle of ketchup, 2 eggs, and a little bit of rice. And the brother called and said, I need money. And he sent his last 10,000 naira. And the brother said, is that all? We suffer from depression. We suffer from racism. We suffer from homesick. We suffer from not being able to find the best spouse because of the social construct out here. Do you think Africans in the diaspora need therapy?
Oh yes, we need therapy. You're like saying, do doctors need help? The answer is yes. We need help because we try to be tough sometimes. We try to shield our pain. We have a parable in my culture that says that chicken sweat, but you don't see the sweat because it's covered by feathers. If you see a chicken running around with sweat dripping, you're going to run, right? We sweat every day, man. We just hide it with our feathers. And being tough doesn't mean we're naive to the fact that everything is okay. We don't want to bother them because we already know that people back home have their own stress level. We are not trying to be tough and be Superman or heroes. We just try to hide those feelings, which is also a problem because it goes back to say, oh, I know my people, they suffer. I don't want to add to their suffering. What I mean by that is, I understand what my people are going through. I don't want to add to the sufferings. I just want to make them feel good. When you call, the first thing they ask, how are you doing? You say, great, I'm doing good. No, the snow is out there 10 feet high. Sometimes we're less. And then you got to drive on that or you got to walk on that to the bus station. Whatever city you live in. Or there are challenges in the workplace. You just paid your house rent because here you don't pay, they don't come and, there's a way to evict you. Or you have a mortgage. Where I came from, there was no mortgage when I was growing up. So when you say you bought a house and you're paying small, they're like, oh, come on now. Do you see how big his house is? He's got money. It's loan. Oh, do you see the car brother is driving? He's driving Mercedes-Benz. It's car loan. Yeah, but you see, those things are changing, especially in Africa now because there are loan schemes and all this other stuff out there, opportunities for people to take loan. But we have to tell the truth to our people back home. From the beginning, day one. I know I'm guilty of what I'm saying. I did not speak up at the beginning. But now, when I make that phone call, I don't say how you people doing because if you open that womb, you are going to, in fact, hello, yes, it's kind of scripted. Yes. You said what? Okay now. Don't say hi. No, you say how you did. You are in problems. Fact, don't even go there.
Do you think Christianity plays a little role in this? Because a lot of people don't want to be called wicked, unquote. Don't want to feel like they are not helping their people. And that's because of our Christian upbringing back from Africa. Because we think that if you say no, you are weak and they call you wicked.
I'm glad you brought that up. I would call that ethical intelligence. Ethical intelligence is about your morals and your values and the procedural fairness. So let's peel that a little bit. Ethical, to be intelligently ethical or ethically intelligent means your moral values, your morals and your values, your upbringing. Your upbringing could be religion and all the other stuff, culturally or otherwise. And then your values that you hold dear, thou shalt not this, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not that. That be your brother's keeper, love one another, help the poor. You put those two together, it makes you who you are. And when that becomes aware, the awareness becomes cognitive. Each time in your mind, that means you are ethically intelligent. Now, putting that in place, somebody calls and say, you will make the phone call. How are the children? They are home or no school today. What happened? School fees. How much is it? 20,000 naira. And you just do the exchange rate. You're like, 20,000 naira, that is, come on, man.
Right.
Oh, why they not go school now? No money. Okay. You're like, I'll see what I can do. The desire to want to help, you feel obligated to do it. Don't forget, you are the brother that lives overseas. And your people back home, they're buga. My brother is in the US. Right. Meanwhile, you just did 2 shifts. You have not even slept yet. You go, in your checking account, you only have $100 there. You did the exchange rate, okay, 20,000 naira. You go and pick small from there, you send. And then the next time, maybe a week or 2 later, brother, landlord just left. He said we should pack. What happened? We are going to be on the street tomorrow. It would just be as if you had not called, they would have been on the street. And you living in the US, you know what it is to have a family, and living on the street is not an option. You send. So the upbringing is part of it, but our moral obligation, the ethical intelligence in us, and then the procedural fairness of how we relate to them back home. That procedure, we want to be fair. We know the right thing to do, but we just want to be fair. And we send. And then the day you don't send, brother is a bad person. I just asking for ordinary, couldn't even send me. They will even tell you the money in dollars. And I'm saying family members, but this could be friend, it could be relatives. It doesn't mean that every family is like this. Please don't get me wrong. Some families are very cooperative and understanding, but this I'm describing, some of you have gone through this. So I'm not saying this to demonize people or demonize a family, but I'm just saying it's the truth. And that is why we're trying to heal the divide. That is why we're going to have this conversation to help both sides so that there will be love and there will be peace.
Do you think there are people in Africa that are living way better than some of us here in the United States?
The answer is yes, and I've seen that. So I have friends who were my college mates when I was in Nigeria, high school friends, elementary school friends. The fact that I live in America, they think I'm richer than them. And when I visit, you want to see my family, when are you going to be chance? I'll pick you up. They show up with brand new car. They don't have loan. No, there's no car loan, it's cash. And then when we get to the house where the gate, I'm like, is this a Hollywood or Nollywood movie? And then you see the house with housemaid, with drivers, with gardeners, cook. There is no mortgage. But this is a guy that before I traveled back to Nigeria, Harry, please buy wristwatch for me. I thought maybe he's suffering. And maybe he's my guy from, you go to wherever, you get a wristwatch that is not too bad. Boy, I have a house mortgage. I have a car loan. I got some credit cards too.
Right.
Actually, that wristwatch was put on credit card. So again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But some are living larger than we do here, even better than we do. And of course, there are some that are really suffering, that are living below the poverty level, that when you see them, you know. And don't get me wrong, those that are enjoying, that are living big and large, they are fewer in number in terms of percentage.
Right.
So I wouldn't be able to put percentage-wise as to those that are living below poverty, but I know there are more. So let's not deny the fact that there are people suffering, but there are more living big and pretend to not be rich. Yeah.
In your experience, your political experience in Africa, in Nigeria in particular, how was that?
It was very interesting. So I've always traveled back home and are complaining about, there's no electricity, constant electricity, I should say. There's generator making noise all over the place. Can we just have a nice electric supply, whatever we want to call it? Electricity.
Yeah.
Water is a big issue. There is no pipe-borne water that is for everyone. Every individual, they have borehole. And that is going to create another problem in the future that we are not paying attention to. We are perforating the earth's surface. And we're sitting at the ocean, west coast of Africa. That's where Nigeria is. That's where Cameroon is.
Yeah.
You punch, boom, you got water. The day that thing will start shifting, earthquake will become an issue, a big problem. Look at California, right? It's sitting in the edge of the water. And then good roads. So people complain. And I complain too. And then I'll come back to the United States and I'll enjoy my life here because everything is good, but it's paid for though.
Yeah.
And when I go back, those things I complain about is even worse now. And I'll complain again. So one day, my friends were just having some good time. Boys were talking. And I started complaining. And one of them said, Eric, I love you, man. But you come here, you talk and complain. And you go back to the United States and you enjoy your life. I said, but you guys should fix it. He said, hey, there you go. Fix it. Fix what? Who is going to fix it? Yeah. I'm like, whoa, wow. That hit me. I didn't see that coming. Who is going to fix it? Huh? It's your problem. And then I left. On my flight back to the United States, it was echoing in my head, who is going to fix it? Who is going to fix it? And then I was like, that's the very true word. Okay, I'll go. I got back home. I talked to my wife about this conversation. She's like, oh, here we go again. This man is going to go to Nigeria. And I said, yeah, I want to go. What do you want to do? I said, I have the orphanage and I give to the kids and they're doing well. I'm blessed to serve them. I'm even privileged to serve them. Let me use that word. Because I'm leaving my contract with God. But people coming to the orphanage to beg for food, that was killing. It didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice. And I started to ask myself, where did we miss it? Okay, let me serve. Right. a bigger platform where I can help my people. The only way to do that is politics, to be in the government. So that I can either provide these amenities that I talked about, or enact laws or be part of legislations that will help make things happen for people. Good education, good healthcare, this, that. So I decided to want to run for office. I was called a native foreigner. You are not one of us. I'm like, what are you talking about? So it was a very interesting experience. I learned one thing. I knew the root cause of our problem. They are those people, the kingmakers. You don't see them on TV. They are the ones that choose and say who's going to be who and what, before you go out there and put your name and put your picture as a candidate. Until that changes, we're going to start playing this, keep playing the same LP, same music. It's like skip. Back in the days where they play that music that go around, it's called the record. When it cracks, it keep giving you boom, boom, same music. That's where we're going to find ourselves. It wasn't a bad experience. It was bitter for me because I didn't see that coming, but it's good I experienced it. Will I do it all over again? I probably will do it differently. So it didn't work out well for me, but I did not give up completely. I moved into my shell, stay in my lane, and they said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going submarine. So right now, it's already past 2 years. I'm still in my submarine mode. By the time I'm ready, I'm going to come out from the water and I will launch. That is how submarine works. So, yeah, that is a little description. If we want to talk about that, you need a whole day, man. And I'll be willing to share because it was an eye-opening experience.
Absolutely. So what's next for Dr. Eric?
Very good question. I enjoy the fact that I will be part of a solution. What is next for me, I will read it because I did put it down in a book. And I said, what do I want to be remembered for? That is also what's going to determine my next step. But it's based on my values and my principles, which says that I do not measure success by the wealth that I accumulate, but by the number of lives I impact. If I can leave behind a generation of children who know love, who know hope, and who know they are valued, then I have lived well. What is next for me is I want to serve, and I want to serve unconditionally, but I want to serve the weak and the weary, the less privileged, because that is the way I can serve God. We pray every day, God, give me this, give me that, give me this. What we have today is what we've wished for before. When we have it, we forget, we ask for more. But for me, I want to answer God's prayer, which is love one another. That's all He asks us to do. Absolutely. And I'm doing that right now by serving orphans.
Dr. Eric, if people want to buy these books, where can they find them?
So you go to my website, ericidehen.com. Simple. Use Google that, ericidehen.com. It will bring up the books, and then you have options to buy the two. I would love you to buy the two. They're two very good books with two different lessons to learn, experience that I shared. But if you want to buy one, that's okay too.
Guys, you gotta pick up these books. They are very profound. Are we gonna have them in Amazon anytime?
It will be very soon.
Okay.
I'm working on that.
Okay.
Just launched it now on my platform, but it's going to move it to other platforms as I continue to promote it. It will be on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, Dr. Eric Idehen, thank you so much for joining World Caffeine. This is your first time on the channel. Please hit that subscribe button. Send us a comment. Tell us what you think. If this is not your first time on the channel, thank you so much for being back. My name is J.O. Sticks. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.